Hello, my name's Elijah Wells, and today I'm releasing what my opinions are for the upcoming films anticipated for release in 2026, as in films that are coming out in 2026. So I'm just going to lay a couple of ground rules here, as in number one, I'm only going to do movies that are released in 2026, as in no movies that are going to be released just after New Year's Day, like, I don't know, Hamnet or Sentimental Values or what was the other film, and Song Sung Blue, as in films are released in quite a lot of the world or in film festivals the year prior, so I'm not doing that. And also, I'm not going to do like streaming movies just on a sole purpose that the release date is usually announced either with months in advance or at the last minute. And also, if I don't mention a movie that you want to see next year, it's either that I haven't heard of it yet, or that it hasn't been released, or the release date for the United Kingdom hasn't been out yet. And of course, all these releases are going to be from United Kingdom. Like, if it's different from your country, then it's kind of on me. So, let's go. But anyways, let's get on with it. Winter releases. On the 23rd of January, we have Mercy, which stars Chris Pratt and Rebecca Ferguson. Like, what on earth is this trailer? Like, it looks like the other Amazon Prime movie, War of the Worlds, but on a bigger budget and less restrictive camera movements. And keep in context that War of the Worlds was filmed, the Ice Cube version was filmed during lockdown, so they clearly had to do it over Zoom, and it definitely shows. But this one, they clearly had more of a budget to play around with, and it still looks like the same quality, as it looks utter tosh, as in it looks like poop. It looks like something that came out my poop hole. Like, it looks like bad. Like, why would anyone watch this unless if you watch it on Amazon Prime and it's the last thing you want to watch just because there's nothing interesting going on at that point. So Mercy, that is at the January 23rd. And also going further down, we have Shelter on January 30th. I felt like, okay, kind of typical Jason Statham, as in he has a child he has to protect because something bad guys are coming after him, something, and he was a trained assassin, something. Like, I think at this point it's starting to get a little too familiar. Like, I feel like Jason Statham needs a bit of a career pivot a little bit at this point, like Dwayne The Rock Johnson did for Smashing Machine. So there's that. There's also Kangaroo with Ryan Coy in this Ryan Coy as well, coming out the same day, which does look pretty interesting, so I might give that a go. And going further down, we have on 13th of February, we have Wuthering Heights with Jacob Elordi and Margot Robbie, as well as Adolescence Breakout being Owen Cooper. Again, it has garnered a lot of controversy, particularly how it's going to really deviate from the original novel it was based on, like having Margot Robbie, who's in her 30s, playing a teenage character, and the alleged whitewashing of Jacob Elordi's character, who is either a dark-skinned person or a gypsy in the original book it was based on. And it does lean in a lot more into the romantic elements of the movie, while ignoring like a lot of the elements of the book, like race and class, which again I found a bit odd, even though I haven't read the book it was based on. I haven't seen any other adaptations. Like, there was the BBC one that's available on iPlayer from the 90s. Again, I might want to check it out before the film comes out, but the movie is shot very beautifully, and the set design looks incredible. The costuming work looks gorgeous. It looks like something definitely made for a big screen, so I'm definitely, this looks like something I definitely want to check out at this point. Particularly how gorgeous and beautiful it does all look, even if it does deviate from the novel to the point it definitely did upset quite a lot of fans, understandably. On the same day, being 13th of February, we have Goat, which is a film starring Nicole and Gabriel Union and Caleb McLaughlin, and it's also a movie about Stephen Curry as a goat, and with the animation that's reminiscent of the Spider-Verse films, and also made by Sony, who did already are in a hugely hot streak, like Spider-Verse films, and of course the K-pop Demon Hunters films, which I finally did see recently, and I did thoroughly enjoy that movie. And I might actually check that film out, along with, of course, the Wuthering Heights movie, so could be Wuthering Goats, who knows? Yeah, even though basketball is not really a huge thing in my country, in the United Kingdom, it does look really cool, interesting animation. And also, on the same day, also very surprisingly, we have Looney Tunes The Day the World Blew Up. Like, this movie was shelved for quite a long time, then got released very quietly in 2024 in the United States then, only now it's getting only now it's getting released in the United Kingdom. Like only now that's happening. Like I thought that came out like years ago actually. Like I imagine the marketing must be like really that badly, and it's also pretty emblematic for like David Zaslav's leadership at Warner Brothers. Like it got shelved because it was a Looney Tunes cartoon because he apparently hates cartoons at this point. And it got a very minimal release. And now, particularly when his reign might be ending with that Netflix merger, it's just coming out. So I'm not sure if it's too little too late, but here we are. Next week on the 20th of February, we have Cold Storage starring like Joe Carey and Liam Neeson and Leslie Manfield. Like this just looks like looks like The Thing but modernized essentially. So not sure about that. We have Gore Verbinski's first film since Cure for Wellness, being Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die with Sam Rockwell in the movie. Does look very interesting. Looks very spunky, look punky as well, and it's also basically has a much more of a more of a metaphor about the state of AI and the mindless consumption. It does look very innovative and all that. So I might check it out. I'm just hoping it doesn't like continue in his like already really daunting cold streak he's having with like Lone Ranger, and then of course with Cure for Wellness, which famously did really poorly in the box office. And to the 27th of February we have Scream 7 with Courtney Cox in as well as Neve Campbell. Again, this movie has gone a lot of controversy. Not just they fired the makers of this film, Spyglass, and as well as Paramount. Of course, fired one of the actresses for their views on the Israel-Palestine conflict, and of course, Paramount and Spyglass, the production company behind the Scream franchise, have got into a lot of unwanted attention. Not just questioning their pro-Israeli politics, but also the state of the franchise. Particularly with Jenny Ortega pretty much exiting the franchise, and of course Maggie Madison being spoiled for me. Like, great. How am I going to watch the other films now after it's been revealed that she was the Ghostface killer in the previous film, and someone said she was the first Oscar-winning Ghostface killer? Like, really? You spoiled it from me. I kept it off for that long, so here we are. Spring releases. For the 6th of March, we have The Bride with Jesse Berkley and Christian Bale, Penelope Cruz and Jake Gyllenhaal, and also directed, I think, by Maggie Gyllenhaal. I'm not too sure about this movie, even though we have the Guillermo del Toro movie, Frankenstein, that came out recently, and I, again, really enjoyed that movie quite a bit. It's on Netflix. Yeah, I think there was a tweet that was thrown down on Twitter being like, either this is going to be a masterpiece or the most annoying movie ever. Like, I definitely carry that sentiment, particularly with The Bride. Like, either this is going to be a really spunky, like, really fun movie that pretty much boasts, like, a really high letterbox and Rotten Tomato score, or is this the really obnoxious movie that I'm going to find a DVD of it at a charity shop by next Christmas? So I am not too sure about this movie, so I'm not really for me, even though I probably had my Frankenstein fill already with the Guillermo del Toro movie. And also Pixar is back again, particularly with the movie Hoppers, where it's again essentially the same plot as Avatar, to the point they literally just said it in the movie's trailer. Like, it has John Hamm and Meryl Streep in the movie. And also has Bobby Malhan and Pippi Koda. Sorry if I mispronounced her name. But again, I'm not entirely the most sure about this movie. But I imagine I do remember the second trailer a lot more than the first one, just because it was definitely a much better product. Because the first one just said, "Oh, it's like Avatar! Oh, it's like Avatar!" Like, okay, you really want that Avatar money? Like, particularly that Pixar, of course, has been notably struggling for years. Like, only had that one big hit that was Inside Out 2, which was a couple of years ago. And, of course, there was Elio, which didn't really set the world on fire in any stretch of imagination. So, either Hoppers is going to send Pixar into almost permanent state of purgatory, or Pixar is going to be in the state of the box office kings of yesterdecade, or is going to bring back in the box office relevance. So it's at this point it's make or break. At this point, like Inside Out 2 is pretty much like like yesteryears at this point. Like, I think they can't really justify success if they're going to continue making flops. On the 20th of March, we have Project Hail Mary with Sandra Holler and Ken Long, and Ryan Gosling in the lead role as the science teacher who is sent away across the universe to basically boost up a dying sun. Essentially, that Danny Boyle movie Sunshine, but without the horror elements that were most at play in the second half of the film. But it does look very interesting, does look very beautiful, and does look very energizing, particularly for a movie by Christopher Lloyd and the other director who Christopher Miller and Phil Lord, who made some incredibly great films, particularly with the Spider-Verse films, which are most emblematic and everyone's most proud of them for doing. They also did some other films which I do really like Cloudy and Chance of Meatballs and the Lego Movie, but particularly for the live action stuff, particularly on 21 and 22 Jump Street, which of course I do remember being funny, so particularly now they're going away from comedy like the earlier stuff they did, like Lego Movie, Cloud Chance Meatballs and Jump Street, to more sci-fi, more very beautifully angelic and more ethereal stuff, which is somewhat of one of the best transitions from a filmmaker could make, as in the earlier, more comical stuff to the more cerebral, more ethereal, very out-of-body sci-fi stuff, like with Spider-Verse. On the same day, on 20th March, we have the Billie Eilish Hit Me Hard and Soft, the tour film, or the concert film, which is done in 3D. It says live in 3D, but I highly doubt it, since I did remember reading of its Wikipedia page that it does filmed the concerts from the Manchester shows in the Co-op Arena earlier this year, and of course has James Cameron behind the helm, which is a little bit odd because it's usually when it comes to directing documentaries, particularly of these stuff like concert films, it's usually either the stars or a reliable person, not James Cameron. But when I watched the trailer, it did make sense. Like, he's testing out like some really cool 3D stuff, like he demonstrated with the Avatar movie. Could be done on a lot, instead of like the world of floating mountains, fire aliens, the sea aliens, and aliens that are traveling across many lands. This one just takes place in the concert of one of the biggest stars to emerge for the past 5 years or so. And of course, I am willing to check that out, particularly when I watched the trailer on a big screen with my 3D glasses on when watching the Avatar movie, and it looks incredible. And of course, me, as someone who generally likes her stuff, like music, and of course the stuff on film, like the Barbie soundtrack, What Was I Made For, and No Time to Die, of the same title, so that's something I definitely want to check out in the near future. And 3rd of April, we have the drama, Rob Pattinson and Zendaya, who's also in another movie as well, being Dune Part 3, or Dune Messiah, as it may be called, so it looks like basically a more dramatic, romantic movie. Basically, a more bitier version of Four Weddings and a Funeral, maybe, but again, rom-coms are not usually my thing, but maybe it's good depending on the word of mouth. And the same day, we have Super Mario Bros. Galaxy movie with Jack Black, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Chris Pratt, and Brie Larson as well, and of course Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I haven't seen the first one, but apparently a lot of people who like the original games, and of course the many games that came before it, are definitely going to like it, so maybe it's good for them. Well, good for them, but as a connoisseur of cinema, maybe it's for me, but who knows. But it could be good, could be worse than the original, could be better, but I'm not holding my whole bets up that it's going to be like a complete knock out of the park. On 24th of April, we have the Michael Jackson movie, Michael, starring his nephew Jafar Jackson as the titular musician himself, which, again, that movie just amazes me. Like, how did that get made? Like, not just of the legal battles and the controversies that surround Michael Jackson, particularly with the documentary Leaving Neverland and how his fans controversially reacted, but at the same time, he's like one of the biggest artists ever, even though he passed away way over 15 years ago at 2009 from a medication overdose. But again, he is such a larger-than-life person that it's pretty much warranted that he gets his own film at this point. particularly with the stuff like Bad, Thriller, Dangerous, like some and Off the Wall, some of the most pivotal albums of the 20th century. Like, there's no question about it. He deserves it at this point. So, and also the trailer with like the director of Training Day and Fury behind the mix, and of course the producer Graham King who did Bohemian Rhapsody. Like, this is bound to be like complete box office and maybe critical gold, depending how the movie like handles the really delicate and the controversial shadow that is his controversies, and how that pretty much plagued the later part of his career, particularly with his everything past Invincible. But again, knowing Michael Jackson, and of course a lot of people like myself really like his music when I was growing up. So let's check it out for Michael. And for 8th of May, we have The Sheep Detective with Emma Thompson, Hugh Jackman, Regina Hall, and Julie Louis-Dreyfus. Like, I remember my brother or my mum showed me that trailer. It just looked really hilarious. It looked really silly. Like, the really silly offbeat comedy, which is basically about the sheeps finding out how their shepherd died. Again, some really offbeat, some silly stuff like basically a bunch of sheep along with their police officer finding out how their shepherd died. Like, basically who done it but with sheep. Again, it looks silly. I want to watch it. Mortal Kombat 2 at May 15. I haven't seen the first one, but knowing this is the second one, I'm just praying it does not disappoint its fans. Like, the last time when Mortal Kombat had a second movie, it was called Mortal Kombat Annihilation. And it's now considered one of the worst films ever made. Like, just Google it. Like, you'll be surprised how low they went. But with the trailer that came out with Carl Urban, this looks like a full-blown treat for your eyes. And of course, the first film that came out during the pandemic, and of course the first film being released along on HBO Max at the same time as cinemas. It's slowly getting its audience, thankfully. Pretty much enough to warrant a sequel, so that's a good thing. On 22nd of May, we have the Star Wars movie, The Mandalorian and Grogu with Sigourney Weaver and Pedro Pascal, Jamie Allen White and Steve Blum. Again, a lot of contention about this one, a little bit. Not just this is the first theatrical Star Wars film after the really hated Rise of Skywalker. Even though I defended some elements of this movie, but not as much as Last Jedi. But there came a point where this is a movie so bad it pretty much robbed people off from Star Wars, possibly permanently. Like, particularly how the then head of Lucasfilm treated the franchise, and now it has a new head. And now, of course, this is maybe a sequel to the Mandalorian series, which pretty much fell apart on season 3. So I imagine this is not just an extended episode or just the season just crammed into like a 2-hour long movie. But I imagine there's going to be a lot of thought and heart into this movie. So I'm just happy or just hoping that this really does please the fans after they've been through a lot, particularly in the 2010s. Summer releases. On June 12th, we have Disclosure Day, directed by none other than the GOAT, being Steven Spielberg. This time starring Emily Blunt, Colin Firth, and Josh O'Connor, who's pretty much going up in the film world at the moment, particularly with films like Challengers and the recent Knives Out movie, as well as particularly his really early stuff like God's Own Country, which is a very underrated film, which I think stars him. And of course, this movie is about what happens when the government officially reveals secrets that aliens exist and how the world is going to react to it. And again, it does look very cerebral, very sentimental. Again, pretty much apparently on the same avenue, let's say Close Encounters of the Third Kind and E.T., pretty much the early sci-fi stuff that Spielberg did long before something like War of the Worlds or Ready Player One or something like that. Again, it's definitely returning back to the more earlier, more grounded stuff that he's more known for, which again, is definitely for a treat for people like myself, who's pretty much, even though I do like a lot of his stuff, but I feel like his more earlier stuff is definitely stands up a lot more taller, even though I do like something like, let's say, The Feeblesman or Ready Player One, which I again do really like those films. To be honest, I just like everything he does. And on the same day, 12th of June, we have Scary Movie 6, which is the first installment of the Scary Movie franchise in 13 years. we're particularly with the Anna Faris and of course Regina Hall pretty much back in the role for the first time in like over 20 years at this point. I have no idea what they're going to parody or take a Mickey out of this time, but there's like a whole treasure trove of like horror stuff they can go into, like maybe the Conjuring stuff, maybe the Insidious stuff, maybe the one of the most critically acclaimed stuff like Hereditary, Get Out, Sinners. Again, they have like a whole sandbox of material they can play with, so I'm just hoping it does bring back parody cinema again. Particularly, we have Naked Gun this year, which is a film I really do enjoy, one of my favourites that came out that year. So I'm just hoping parody comedy cinema is back on menu for cinema. On 19th of June, we talked about Scary Movie 6, maybe bringing back parody cinema back. Well, for Toy Story 5, it's about a franchise. I feel like at this point it's now gone one installment too far at this point. You know, it stars the usuals, Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, starring, and also, of course, starring Greta Lee as the Tablet. Of course, it's basically the toys world got shaken upside down because an iPad appears, and of course, the kids are playing with technology now. Like, I feel like this is a story that's too late to be relevant at this point. Like, maybe have something about Toys R Us are closing now. Like, what happens when Alban's, the shop from the second film, like, closes down, like Toys R Us did, or have a more thoughtful commentary, like the mindless consumption of toys, like recently with Labubu dolls, or probably a closure of a line of toys, like the Funko Pop stuff, like, which I'm very sad to see maybe going very soon, but I feel like it's chosen the safe route, like, it's tablet versus toys. Like, I feel like it's too late to be that relevant. Like, when I think of iPads now, I think of like a snotty 5-year-old kid at a supermarket who's probably like watching like Baby Shark or Bluey while his or her mom or dad is probably shopping for groceries. Like, Baby Shark, do 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 do, Baby Shark. Like, shut up. Like, that's all I think about iPads now. Like, really, like, I don't. They probably do more to justify the sequel a little bit more, but I feel like 3 was a good enough ending point, and 4, I feel like closes the deal off for me, as in I feel like this is a really good closing point, and 4 is a good one to close the arc, but I don't know what 5 really offers to the deal at this point. Like, what's the point of this? On the 22nd of June, we have the Supergirl movie with Millie Alcock, and also Jason Momoa as a new character in DCEU, or the new DC character after the DCEU pretty much got Thanos snapped to oblivion. I mean, Thanos snapped on steroids, as in the whole thing just went kapooey. Yeah, I really do like her character, even though she had like 2 minutes of screen time from the Superman movie, and again, I really do like what she brought to that 2 minutes of screen time, as basically as the Superman's very drunk cousin. Of course, Superman spent the entire movie just babysitting the dog. So, again, if I love that 2 minutes of her role in Superman, I'm going to hopefully love maybe the 2 hours, depending on what the runtime is, of Supergirl. So, I'm just really ecstatic to see what really goes down. Particularly, it has the director who did Dumb Money in the fold in this movie, and I, Tonya, who it's Craig something, but I forgot his name. But I definitely do like Dumb Money, so I'm definitely going down to see what really goes down in this movie, no matter how the insane shenanigans that Supergirl will bring. And 1st of July, we have Minions 3. Again, this is the same problem I have with Toy Story and with Minions. Like, I feel like it's gone on for like a couple or even one installment too long at this point. Like, I might watch it, but there comes a point like, why are people still watching this? Like, it's Minions doing Minion stuff. Like, the first, talking about the 2 timelines, Despicable Me and Minions. This is the 3rd Minions movie, of course. First one, it takes place in 1960s Britain, and of course, it's basically trying to find the ultimate bad person and accidentally overthrow the monarchy. Second film, I have no idea what's going on. Like, there's like so many plot threads. Like, I felt like this is like Gravity's Rainbow if it got a animated adaptation. Like, there was like so many storylines that were going on, and I couldn't keep track of any of them because they were all like competing for attention to a point I couldn't really focus on which one I had to go with. Like, to a point I feel like this is like, it was like plot together by someone with unmedicated ADHD. Like, It's that bad. So I'm guessing in this movie they go to 1980s somewhere. Like, I don't know, 1980s New York or 1980s France, since they were in the Paris opening ceremony at the Olympics for some reason, or 1980s Australia, maybe? I don't know. I have no idea if this franchise even has has a roadmap at this point. Like, of course, this is a prequel to Despicable Me timeline. Like, it has to end somewhere. Like, it shouldn't like differentiate from the franchise way too much to the point it has more holes in it than Swiss cheese. And another film that's making me question my will to live. July the 10th, we have the Moana remake. Like, why are people still watching this crap? Like, this movie makes things worse. This movie came out 10 years ago. Well, 10 years after the cartoon version got released. Like, why are people watching this? Like, it's like giving the devil a foothold at this point. Like if you don't want to watch a live action remake, don't pay money for it. Like, it's the end of that. Like, I remember people having like a tantrum, particularly with Leo's Ditch. Like, well, congratulations, we're gonna get more of this crap. Like, even though I think everyone should have learned their lesson from the Snow White abomination, because it did poorly enough in the box office that made Disney think like, oh wait, are these things days numbered? Like, this live action remake shenanigans? Like, why would anyone watch this? Particularly with Moana, like, I thought the film was alright when it came out. I haven't seen the second one because I currently didn't quite care as much about this world as compared to, like, I don't know, Zootopia that came out the same year, but at this point, the trailer was just basically like a student project. Like, we created this shot, we recreated this shot, we recreated this shot. Like, what was the point of this movie? Like, this movie is, like, going to bring out the worst of me to the point I may actually have to use profanities at this point. Like, I'm going to avoid it like I should have done with COVID, as in, don't go even near it. But thankfully, a week later, actual cinema comes out, not some AI slot by an AI-brained company called Disney. But on the 17th of July, we have Odyssey, directed by, again, the master of his craft, Christopher Nolan, starring Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway, Rob Pattinson, and of course Zendaya as well. Of course, Tom Holland and Zendaya also appear a couple of weeks later with Spider-Man Brand New Day. I wonder how the promo tour is going to go. But all series it's based off like a really well-known novel by Homer, not Homer Simpson, but you know what I mean. It's basically, even though I have not got a firm grasp on this, but it looks utter insanity. Like, it looks like it's going all out. It looks big. It looks gigantic. Like, everything you should expect from a Christopher Nolan movie. It looks epic. Like, I'm almost losing my voice, like, from that Moana rant, but this is a movie that everyone should be flocking to the cinemas for. Like, this is a movie, like, it's made for the big screen. More specifically, it's the first film to be shot entirely in IMAX, which, again, I found very surprising. Like, I thought Avengers did that, but apparently maybe on a big screen format like 70mm or something, or a digital format. But again, this is a director who always wants to push boundaries, like having a giant in the cave, which happens in the novel, but without using CGI, which may be the most obvious thing to do, he uses a giant puppet and some projectors apparently. And again, knowing that Christopher Nolan is a deeply practical director, so I'm going to check out how the end result is, and of course, I might give it a really great, glowing review. Again, knowing me as a Nolan fan, I'm going to just eat this up, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the next 3 years until he makes something else in 3 years' time. And 31st of July, like I said, 2 weeks after Odyssey, we have Zendaya and Tom Holland again with Spider-Man Brand New Day. Even though I won't be too far down with Minions and Toy Story, where it's a franchise that went on for a installment too long at this point, I feel like the third one of the Tom Holland films is a definite and very fitting closure for me. But again, I feel like it's going to be like Toy Story 4, where I feel like the third one closed off the arc, and this one closed off everything for Spider-Man. Like, even though we have the upcoming Avengers film, which I will get into in a minute, and it's also from the same guy who did the Shang-Chi movie, which is definitely one of the better Marvel films post-COVID. Yeah. And of course, it has a lot of promo about it, particularly being shot in Edinburgh, Scotland, with a lot of like really cool photos being shown into the mix. Again, I have no idea what the plot of it is, but I imagine it's going to take place before the events of Doomsday, which again I'm going to talk about a little bit later. But again, I'm going to see how it all goes down. 7th of August, we have the Paw Patrol Dino movie. Don't care, I'm not a 7-year-old kid. I would be into it, but I'm not a 7-year-old kid. And on 21st of August, we have The Thread, a Insidious tale. Like, I thought they stopped doing these Insidious movies. Like, I thought the Red Door was the last installment. Unless this is gonna be like Pokemon, where it's gonna be just filled with spin-offs and movies that diverted from the timeline or something. But I thought they just ended with that. And also sharing a title of one of the most brutal movies from 80s Britain is maybe a bit of a weird selling point, but I have no idea. 20th of August, we have the Ridley Scott movie, The Dog Stars, starring Josh Brolin, J.K. Lordy, Margaret Qualley, and Guy Pearce. Some really big actors that definitely made it big in the past 10, 5, or even 15 years. So, something I definitely want to check out. Particularly, as a fan of Ridley Scott, I'm going to have to check it out. Apparently, it takes place in a post-apocalyptic world or something, but the story-wise is a little bit vague, but again, knowing that Ridley Scott is doing this, I'm guessing out of spite of retirement, or he despises it at this point, considering he's now in his late 80s now, which is, again, I have to applaud him for it, for still making these films. And of course, same day, on 28th of August, we have the Coyote v. Acme movie with John Cena and Will Forte in this movie. Like, again, with the Looney Tunes, the day the world blew up, I felt like this is a weird one, just on suppose that they did shelve it, particularly when David Zasloff was obsessed with like shelving every cartoon movie, just because he hates cartoon, or probably he's Christopher Lloyd's character from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Like, he has such a special hatred towards these films for some unknown reason. Of course, there was this massive fan campaign, similar to that of the Snyder Cut films of Justice League. But this time, it's Coyote v. Acme, and of course, Warner Brothers did bend backwards, be like, okay, we'll give it to you. Are you happy now? Again, with the Coyote movie, I'm just hoping it's not going to be like Looney Tunes movie, The Day the World Blew Up, as in, they're going to like, hey, we're going to release it. Are you happy now? And then just do everything they can to just poorly market it, and just show it in some artsy theatre, or some theatres that mostly would show like independent films or foreign films, or just give it so little advertisement that people will just forget it existed, which is, again, will just do the film dirty. Autumn releases. And surprisingly, we have a pretty quiet September. We have P33, Practical Magic 2, Sense and Ability. Like, I have not that much to comment about it, so I imagine it's going to be a pretty quiet September, unless maybe some a film from Cannes Film Festival could pop in at some point, or something from the Venice Film Festival could pop in, or something gets delayed, but it's quiet September. On 16th of October, we have the Street Fighter movie with Jason Momoa and the 50 Cent as well. Again, it does look incredibly campy and very silly, just like the video game it was based on, but I imagine it's going to be like the original film from from 1994, where it's just maybe a bit campy, but it's actually kind of epic. But I imagine I'm hoping for the same for this movie. On 31st of October, Halloween Day, of course, we have Shaun the Sheep, the Beast of Mossy Bottom. Again, as someone who does like a lot of things that Aardman does, like Walter and Gromit, Shaun the Sheep, and of course the more underrated stuff like Arthur Christmas, Pirates movie, again, and also Chicken Run as well. Again, even though they put a lot of their stuff recently on Netflix, particularly with Shaun the Sheep, and as well as the Chicken Run sequel, I'm just hoping this goes on the big screen, because legends deserve big screen status. Looking at you, Shaun Sheep, because you deserve it, not on some laptop or on phone, because you deserve, maybe it could go on IMAX, so we hope we go there. On 6th of November, we have the Cat in the Hat movie with Bill Hader, in another animated film about the Dr. Seuss world. Even though the first Cat in the Hat movie with Mike Myers and I think John Travolta's wife, who I completely forgot her name now, who escaped my mind, but I think that this is may make a lot of people very nostalgic for the live action film with Mike Myers, even though the movie got pretty abysmal reviews, and when I grew up, the movie just looked really incredibly weird in my liking, even though I liked it when I was a kid. But I think it's just a movie, when you grew older, it just looked a lot more weirder for some reason. And for Cat in the Hat, I feel like it's going to be how the Illumination Studios did for Grinch, as in, yeah, the movie did make a lot of money, some critics did like it, but I feel like it's going to make people tether more or attach themselves more to the Jim Carrey version, not the Benedict Cumberbatch version. So that's kind of what I see myself thinking when the film comes out, unless the Cat in the Hat does something unless the new version does something a little bit out there, or a little bit more far-ended or something, or a little bit more experimental. Not asking for something like End of Evangelion level experimentation or something, but something a little bit more left field, to a point it doesn't become forgotten fodder you see on Netflix. We have on 13th November, Ebenezer, A Christmas Carol with Johnny Depp, Daisy Ridley, and Ian McKellen. Again, this is going to be make or break at this point for Johnny Depp. Particularly, not just he had this really messy assault case made against him and the defamation suit that went viral and became meme fodder at this point, but of course people were cheering him to make a comeback. 4 years later, he might be making his first major movie. Particularly, this is directed by Ty West, who did X, Pearl, and Maxine, which is the really big A24 slasher films. And of course, Daisy Ridley, who I swear only made movies that are quality-wise good. Being the only ones she did was the Star Wars sequel trilogy, like Force Awakens, Rise of Skywalker, and Last Jedi. Again, I feel like after Chaos Walking with Tom Holland, she pretty much just completely vaporized from screens. Like, she was, like 10 years ago, going to be the next biggest actress that Hollywood would know. And I can't name her on top of my head other than these 4 films, as in the trilogy of Star Wars films and Chaos Walking. That's all I know her from. Maybe this is a big comeback role like Demi Moore did for The Substance, but otherwise it's just going to be another fodder film you'd probably see on a plane, like on a long haul flight. If this goes wrong for Johnny Depp, then his career is pretty much over at this point. Unless it, like I said, with Demi Moore, who did one of the best comeback performances of the past couple of years with The Substance, then he's definitely back on the road. But of course, the Amber Heard thing is going to haunt him like a ghost. Like, if people learn the other side of it, or take a more sympathetic stance towards Amber Heard and pretty much demonizing Johnny Depp. But again, I really did not care about that drama when it happened, and I don't care about it now. If you want to yell at me in the comments about it, so be it. And 20th November, we have The Hunger Games, Sunrise on the Reaping, starring Maya Hawke, Joseph Zada, and Bikini Gaze, and Kieran Culkin, and also starring, of course, Jennifer Lawrence from the original movies. Again, a prequel to the Hunger Games movie, so I haven't seen the films they were based on, but I imagine fans are going to completely eat this up and really going to like it. December 4, Violent Night, starring David Harper. Again, he's being a violent Santa Claus, pretty much in a way to ignore people about the affair that he had while being married to Lily Allen. So I'm going to tell my kids the FU performance she did with in Glastonbury with Olivia Rodrigo is pretty much how they both really hate Stranger Things. So I'm going to tell my kids that. And here's a big doozy. We have December 18th, Avengers Doomsday and June Part 3, or Junesday as Twitter has already called it. Again, this is going to be interesting. Like, what made Barbenheimer work is not just they were both huge box office success, but they were both incredible movies. Like, they're both won Oscars essentially, and they both deeply resonated with audiences on a really deep personal level. And of course, they're both on the apex of how strong they were as filmmakers, being Greta Gerwig and Christopher Nolan. This is definitely a more one-sided affair, as in Denis Villeneuve, who's coming off probably one of the best directors to come out in 2010s with the early stuff like Prisoners, Enemy, Arrival, and moved to more sci-fi stuff like Dune and the Blade Runner movie 2049, and of course made Dune 2, which is already one of my favorite films of the decade. So expectation is through the roof at this point about where this could this go. It's of course starring Zendaya, Florence Pugh, and Timothy Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, and of course Robert Pattinson as well. A second film with of course, with these appearing. And of course, there's the Avengers Doomsday with, of course, Robert Downey Jr. returning as Doctor Doom, not as Iron Man, Pedro Pascal, Chris Hemsworth, Vanessa Kirby. I am more concerned about Doomsday, the Avengers film, as in the Russo brothers have been doing nothing but utter crap for the past years post Endgame, as in after Endgame, they pretty much made like Cherry, which kind of happened. They made Grey Man, which I remember my mom kind of liked. And the Electric State, which pretty much flushed their reputation out the toilet, essentially, as it's basically just a Netflix low quality film, pretty much in its prototype stereotype, as in it's like very colorless and very boring, not nice to look at, and of course it's filled with exposition, and the action scenes are kind of just mediocre at best. So it just makes me feel like really bad for how the state of Marvel at this point, considering how AI brain Disney is, and of course Russo brothers is, particularly how very pro AI they are. Looking at this, it makes me wonder if it's going to be like a less of a Barbenheimer thing and more of a Drake versus Kendrick Lamar thing, as in two of the biggest names in Hollywood just battling it out, as in how I would see this, I'll probably see Kendrick Lamar being like a Denis Villeneuve type, as in you'll wait like a few years for another installment, and of course it's going to be a complete masterpiece. Or something like Drake being the Russo brothers, as in they did relatively well in the 2010s, but when the decade was coming to an end after Endgame, they just made forgettable crap after forgettable crap, as in I couldn't name like one decent song that Drake made in the 2020s. Well, I can name like a couple of good movies that Denis Villeneuve made, or Kendrick Lamar songs he made, particularly in the 2020s. Like, I really like the Mr. Morale album, I really like GNX, I really like Not Like Us, and I really do listen to quite a bit to Meet the Grahams, which I shouldn't really admit on air, but for Drake, I feel like he's just become this pro. Drake and Russo brothers both share similarities. Like, they are so pro AI. Drake recently shared like a AI video of one of his videos, which people just mocked to high heaven, and of course made that weird cover of Hated Delilah. Well, the Russo brothers around that point made like some pro AI statements like AI is going to take over Hollywood, so get used to it, and also getting that weird fight with Martin Scorsese for some reason, and backed it up with one of the worst films of the year being Electric State. Well, if we look at Denis Villeneuve as a Kendrick Lamar type, as in he's made a couple stuff in the 2000s and have all been absolutely brilliant, won Oscars, and of course it's basically the master at top of his craft. So, what do you think of my thoughts on your top anticipated movies of 2026? Let me know in the comments down below. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Blue Sky and Threads. This is Elijah Wells, and bye.